welcome to the One Lonely Owl podcast. My name is Terry, and I will be your host. The One Lonely Owl podcast is a podcast about knitting and crafting, some ramblings of my own, and it is based on a little bit of my history with Newfoundland. So I come from Newfoundland. I've actually lived in Alberta longer than I lived in Newfoundland, but if you ask anybody from Newfoundland, they'll tell you that that is still home. This obviously is my first podcast, so please, I apologize in advance for wherever I'm supposed to be looking. I can't even tell where the view thingy is, so I'm not exactly sure where to look. But yeah, I hope to do this maybe on a bi-weekly basis and share some of my knitting and crafting adventures with you. Coming to you from central Alberta, just sort of north of Calgary, and what else? I live on an acreage. Tea. I love to drink tea, so I'll probably talk to you a little bit about tea and who knows, a bunch of other things. So thank you for joining me and welcome. First, what we're going to talk about is a segment that I'm going to be calling Mug Up. So again, because there's a little bit of a Newfoundland background with me, a mug up is basically when you go, a mug up or a boil up is when you go out into the woods essentially and you boil tea or coffee or whatever, and you have a drink in the woods, and there's nothing better than having a cup of tea in the woods. As usual, so first of all, I'm going to apologize for saying because I feel like I've already said it about 50 times. As usual, I will be drinking Tetley orange pekoe tea. I'm pretty standard. I have 1 sugar and a splash of milk, and it's almost always in a Pyrex cup unless I don't have one, which I don't go anywhere without one, so I usually have one. I have ventured out into drinking other teas, but this is usually my drink of choice. So if you want to sit and knit with me for a little while, or if you want to sit and have a cup of tea, cup of coffee, whatever works for you. I believe this is cup number 4 today, and I know. Anyway, but it's delicious and I love it. So that's Mug Up. Second segment, we're going to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing. And I just realized I don't remember the name of the aqua color. I think it might actually just be aqua. Anyway, what I'm wearing is a t-shirt pattern that I also have forgotten the name of. What I'll do is I'll actually put the name of the pattern down below. And I'll like down below in the description box, but I'll also put it right here. And I'll also link anything that I talk about today and any other episodes in the description box below. So this is Creek Gardens Crafts cotton yarn, Ultra Pima cotton in the mist colorway. The gray is a mist colorway, and I believe the sort of tealy color or the light color is aqua, but I could be wrong. And now, having said that, I should also acknowledge that Penny, who's the owner of Creek Gardens Crafts, is no longer selling her Ultra Pima cotton. She's retired from dyeing cotton. So you can't even get this anymore, I don't think. If you do want to look for anything of Penny's, you can go to Polka Dot Creek. It's a brick and mortar store in Airdrie, Alberta. And they also have a website. I'm pretty sure it would be polkadotcreek.com. Might be polkadotcreekyarn.com, but again, I'll link everything that I talk about today below. So this is just a t-shirt with, I threw in some stripes because I wanted something a little fun and a little different than what I normally would wear. So that is what I am wearing. And again, I would have already put the name of the pattern below because I cannot remember the name of the pattern. Yeah, now whips. So whips are few and far between right now. I always have about 15 or 20 different things on the needles, like no joke. Actually, not too long ago, I frogged a bunch of things that I'd had on the needles for, I kid you not, some of them were more than a decade. So yeah, right now I have one whip that I'm actively working on, and so I'll show that one, and then you'll see probably a few whips kind of trickle their way in as you see episodes grow. But like I say, one right now is on the needles, and I'll talk about that. Excuse me. One thing that I do usually have on the needles is a sock. Usually just like a vanilla sock. And again, I've already mentioned Polka Dot Creek. Polka Dot Creek is my absolute favorite yarn dyer. And she does some gorgeous self-striping. So I do have a pair of socks on the needles. Actually, they're kind of off the needles and just waiting for an afterthought heel. So they are the candy corn colorway. So you might see those maybe next episode when I have a chance and actually cut in for the heels for those. So today I will show you that I'm working on a Flax light. It's in my project bag by Her Leather Co. I cannot say enough about this bag. It is absolutely stunning. There you go, Her Leather Co. She's based out of Calgary, I believe. 99% sure she's based out of Calgary. Again, I'll link everything below. I don't know. I actually got this bag from Yarn Twisters, which is a local yarn store to Calgary. And I actually ordered it as part. One thing you'll learn about me is that I hate paying for shipping. So I wanted a particular book by Tin Can Knits, and Yarn Twisters had it. And Yarn Twisters is probably an hour and a half away from me. And so I ordered it online, but instead of paying for shipping, I bought this bag as well. So there you go. It's adorable. It's leather. It's so supple. It has pockets on the outside that you can put sort of needles or pens and what have you. I happen to have my Lucas Papaw ointment for any Australians that might be watching. I love this stuff, and I have one of these pretty much stashed everywhere. It's the bomb. Anytime any of my friends go to Australia, they always bring me some. So living in this bag is the Flax light. Like I said, it is, I cannot tell you how much I love this yarn. This, again, Polka Dot Creek, I'll link it below. Polka Dot Creek is my favorite yarn dyer. Not only is she exceptional at dyeing yarn, but she's just a lovely human. So hi, Shelley. They have their own podcast as well. Polka Dot Creek has a podcast called Easily Distracted by Yarn, which I will link below. This is the Eucalyptus colorway. Like, just look at it. Oh my gosh. So you'll see I love green. Love, 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 love green. And this colorway, when I saw Shelley dye it, it just had to be mine. So I went in and purchased her first set of dye. I think that she did sold out very quickly. And then when I went in, she had just finished a second dye. So I was able to grab some then. A couple things that I've done differently. So on the neck, you can see the Flax light is a free pattern from Tin Can Knits, whom I absolutely adore. I love them. They call, in the pattern, it calls for a 1x1 rib. I'm not particularly fond of the 1x1 rib. I don't mind doing ribbing, but I just don't particularly like how it looks. So I will, whenever possible, choose to do a 2x2 rib. The Flax light is a raglan sleeve construction. It does generally have a garter stitch panel. I did not want to do the garter stitch panel. I just basically wanted like a plain green sweater. So I didn't do the purl bumps. I'm just going to do plain stockinette. Basically just use the pattern for the shaping and whatnot, and then I will just make it plain myself. I have to thank Taylor Earl from the Wool Needles Hands podcast for this little thing, because I generally am pretty good at not having really extra long tails. But when I was doing this one, for whatever reason, I had a really long tail, and this little bread clip thing is a lifesaver. Like, it is so great. What else? I'm knitting on now my Chowgu interchangeables. I'm following the pattern as directed, with the exception of the garter stitch panel and the 2x2 rib. So far, we'll see how far I get if I change any other things. The stitch stoppers I also got at Polka Dot Creek. I believe the vendor is Hissy Knits. Again, I will link it below. I'm pretty sure you can get these on the website on polkadotcreekyarn.com and also in store if you are local to the Airdrie area. So that's that. I started this a couple of days ago. I have been working furiously on it just because it's pretty simple, and quite honestly, I'm not a big fan of doing increase rows because I like have the attention span of a gnat. So when I just kind of want to like get through the increase rows and get to the body so that I can kind of knit round and round and round. So that's what I'm doing, sort of working furiously to get through there. I've got a few more repeats before I'm done and then split for the sleeves. What else can I talk about around that? So, I should have said this is on Polka Dot Creek's Fingering Weight base. Again, in the Eucalyptus colorway. I believe it's an 80-20. It might be a 75-25 merino nylon blend superwash, but I will check and again link it below. It's 80-20 or 75-25, one of those. So that is my one and only whip right now. Like I say, I have probably 10 or 12 whips at any given time. I wasn't actively working on them in the last little while. And because this is my first podcast, I'm probably going to show some things, finished objects and whatever in the next few episodes that that you wouldn't have seen me working on, just because I've been knitting for quite some time, and I'll have tons to sort of show and just sort of fill the gaps with that. All right, what's next? Excuse me. So this, I'm going to be playing around with some of the names of the segments. I'm thinking I'm going to call this segment Yes Bye, which for those that are not from Newfoundland and wouldn't know, Yes Bye is sort of like a catch-all phrase. So if someone says to you, hey, do you want to go see that concert? Yes, bye. Yes, I would like to go see that concert. If somebody tells you something that is kind of unbelievable, like, did you know that this thing happened? Yes, bye. So it's a bit of a, like I say, a bit of a catch-all phrase. So what I was thinking with the finished objects thread, or the finished objects segment, is, I was able to finish something. Yes, bye. You finished that. Like, you knit that yourself? Because quite honestly, that is usually the response. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you're probably a knitter, or my mom. Hi, Mom. And you get that a lot when you're wearing something that you've made yourself. You'll have that type of response from other people. Obviously, if they're not from Newfoundland, they won't say yes, bye, but they'll say, you made that? That's incredible. Wow, I wish I could knit. We've all heard that. So I thought yes, bye was kind of fitting. So, yes, bye, finished objects. Like I said at the top of the show, or at least I think I said at the top of the show, my plan was always to have this be primarily a knitting podcast with a bit of a smattering of whatever else I might be doing. And we're talking anything and everything. So I've dabbled in crochet, sewing, watercolor, metal stamping. I've done some scrapbooking. That's ages ago. I'm not into that any longer. So yeah, it might be pretty much anything. Excuse me. And quite honestly, I believe in celebrating the things that we create. So if it's something that brings joy to you and you made it, I think it deserves celebrating. So the first thing is actually not a knitting object at all. It's a project bag. And I will share that I'm not a sewist. I do not profess to be a sewist, and as much as I am so proud of this bag, it needs some work. So just take it with a grain of salt when you see it. The stitches are not even. It's really hard to sew because this project is made of canvas, and again, not a sewist. So I did my best, but I'm really, really proud of it. So first thing is the fringe field bag was super popular way back when, and I never did buy one, thinking it would probably always be an option, and then they stopped manufacturing them and stopped selling them until recently I found out that they had released the pattern. So I immediately, pretty much as soon as I found out about it, which I'm probably a little late to the party, I get that, but that's pretty typical of me. So I bought the pattern, I went to a fabric store, picked up some canvas, and made my own. So, super proud of this, and it needs some work. But look at that. So I don't think it's really showing as true to color. It looks a little bit orangey in here in the video. It's kind of like a mustard yellow color. If I hold it back here a little better. So it has the drawstring, just like the fringe field bag, and the handle. I couldn't find leather strap anywhere, I mean, other than online, and I wasn't quite interested in ordering something online until I knew that I could actually make it. So the cotton webbing worked, and it works quite well. The inside, as you know, probably has stuff in there. I was so proud of the grommets. Like, I know grommets are probably not that hard, but like, how much cuter does it make it with a grommet? Anyway, super pumped about that. And it's got the little pockets for pencils and other things. Oh, and look, a little, see? Told ya, it's not perfect. But that's okay. Oh, and then outside, I have my David pin. I am obsessed with Schitt's Creek. I watch it when I need to have a little bit of a pick-me-up. So this came from a set by Ginger Snap That. Oh my gosh, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, might have been 3, who knows? I don't even know. But anyway, it was a Schitt's Creek themed, and you will see that project bag at some point because I always have something in it. But my pin is on this one because he stands out on the yellow and I quite like it. So this was my first finished object that I wanted to share. Again, super proud of it because I don't make bags. I've never made a bag before, and now I get to use it, and it makes my heart sing. All right, next finished object is another project bag. Actually, that's not true. It's another bag. It's not a project bag, although it could be. When I made that one, my best friend, I showed it to her because I was obviously very proud of it. She said to me she's been looking for a cosmetic bag for traveling that basically is like, that can catch everything. So I'm guessing everything from like a brush or shampoo and conditioner or your makeup or your medications or whatever. So I went on the interwebs and I looked for just a plain bag pattern that was free, that I could just sort of trial and error and, you know, maybe use some old denim that I had or whatever fabric I had laying around. And I found something called a Ditty bag, which is in, it's typically used in like sailors use them. And I believe they're generally made out of like leather or waxed canvas or something like that. Sorry, I have to drink my tea before it gets too cold. And like, you know, that temperature that it gets, and it's the perfect temperature. It's just a little colder than that right now, so I can sort of chug it. So I'm going to finish my tea and then I'll come back to you with the Ditty bag. There we go. So, found this pattern for a Ditty bag and actually didn't even find a pattern, although I'm sure they're there. I kind of found it and then improvised a little bit. So first of all, I need to say I was so proud of myself because I just wanted to use up scraps of jeans that I had lying around. And I'll tell you a funny story about that later. But I had a square that was approximately 8 by 8, but it was a piece of jeans. So there's a big section cut out or whatever. So I had cut a circle out of that because I figured I'd get the most out of that particular piece of material if I'd cut it into a circle. So that's what I did. And then I realized, I have to go back to like grade 8 math and figure out how do I figure out the circumference of a circle so that I can figure out the length of the rectangle that's going to wrap around the circle to make the tube, to make the bag. So I had to do some math, which by the way is like 2 pi r, in case you're wondering. C equals 2 pi r. I'll link it below. In case you're wondering. So I was able to figure out the length of the rectangle that I needed And then second, sewing circles, not easy. Like, you think it's just zip around a circle. It is not easy, especially when you're not a particularly experienced sewist. So again, take this with a grain of salt. I was just sort of playing around with it, and I didn't want to do a lining because I didn't have anything particularly that would be toiletry bag appropriate, and it was just kind of like a fun thing that I was going to try to do anyway. So I just whipped up this little denim bag. So it has a circle bottom, sort of. There you go. And then it's kind of two-tone because I just used, like I said, I just used whatever I had. And again, with the grommets. Like, seriously, look how cute these are. So I put these grommets in. I tried to evenly space them as best I could. And then this is the inside. Again, there's no lining or anything. It's just zipped together. And then it drawstrings up. Zoop. So that's like a little bag. There you go. You can see it all there now. So I figured she could throw, you know, her toothbrush or whatever, her shampoo, all that kind of stuff in there, and it would work out. Also pretty proud of this. Not so much like the end product of it, although I am pretty proud of that. More so that I was able to figure out the math to do the circle and then, you know, actually execute the circle relatively well. So that's finished object number 2. Finished object number 3, I'm going to just throw this one in here because this is, yeah, I whipped this out in a couple of days and I'm obsessed with it. But of course, because I'm obsessed with it, I am wearing it. So that's finished object number 3. I think we're done with finished objects. So yes, bye. You made that? Yes, bye. Okay. This one is, so it's a little bit of a play on the word twacking. So again, in Newfoundland, there's lots of different language. And if you're not familiar, you just Google it. And there's videos from Newfoundland Tourism that do a bunch of fun things like someday on clothes, all those types of things. Really, really great. And I wanted to find something that was, I love to twack around. So twacking essentially means shopping and without really any intention of buying. So you go shopping, you do, you know, like you go downtown and you window shop essentially, and you look around and you twack around, and you don't really have anything in mind, and you don't really have any plan to buy anything. I think technically twacking is you don't buy anything. So that's not the case, and that's not going to be the case for this part of the podcast. So this segment I am going to call I Went Twacking, but it's going to be the acquisitions portion. Again, primarily knitting, but some not so knitting things. So first off, I'm going to do the knitting related things. Again, I apologize because these two things that I'm about to show you, or a couple of things, but from two particular Etsy shops, they've both decided not to do this anymore, so you can't get these things, but I did want to share them because they're absolutely delicious and lovely. So the first one is I bought 3 skeins of yarn with the intention of buying a shirt, or making a shirt, either a t-shirt or maybe another flax light, who knows, if I can get one out of 3 skeins. It's from a dyer in Norway, and her name is Bente. She has her own podcast called the Arctic Crafts Podcast. Nope. Used to be Arctic Crafts. It's now called the Epilogue Lady Podcast. She is a lovely human, and she did some amazing dye before she sort of retired from dyeing. I have a bunch of her things, and I've yet to make anything out of it because I just like want to hold it and squish it and look at it. But anyway, she was having a sale, and I decided that I needed to have these. Typically, I'm very neutral, really plain, you know, gray, green, maybe purple, rust. Like, I'm very much an autumnal sort of color person, but I loved this color, and I've been eyeing it for a while, and I knew because she was closing her shop that I wouldn't be able to get it, so I decided that I was going to buy it. Now I've been squishing it for a few days before I decide what I'm actually going to knit with it. So this is Arctic Crafts, and this is called Grab Yo Drank. And I know she talks about where that comes from, and it's another podcast, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it, so I apologize, but if I can find out, I will link it below. But it is fine merino fingering, 100% Falkland merino, superwash, grab your drink. And so my intention is to make, I'm not sure that color is showing up properly. My intention is to make a sweater with this, but I just don't know exactly what sweater yet, but we'll see. So lovely, so lovely. So there's that. Oh, I just found another whip. We'll get back to it. I'll come back to it in a second. I'm going to apologize for the crinkling because these are all in little plastic bags, so I will show you, but I'll try not to crinkle. So the next one was the Mini Me 2023 MCal that I got from, again, from Creek Gardens Crafts, who isn't dyeing cotton anymore, but she does still do project bags, stitch markers, pretty much any, like she makes t-shirts, sweatshirts, you could do all kinds of things with her. But I just love her cotton. So these are, like, look at that. Oh, that teal-y color. This one I know is mist. This one might be like spruce. Sorry, give me 1 second and I apologize for the crinkling. I'm going to open it and see if I can see what colors they are. Oh, this one's called teal. Appropriately named. 100% Pima cotton, sock weight, and it is dyed by Penny at Creek Gardens Crafts. So again, this one is mist. So this is the same color that's actually this one right here, the one that's in my sweater. And then the browny, purpley brown color is called chocolate. Again, apologies because Penny is no longer dyeing cotton. I don't think, you might be able to get some in store still. I don't know if they have any left at Polka Dot Creek or not. But her stuff, and it, like, for summer knitting, it's so perfect. It's just so perfect. So that's one, the Mini Me 2023 MCal. And again, I apologize, but I believe the Mini Me MCal is with the Cozy Up Knits girls, because I know Penny does a lot of work with those ladies. The second one, so from here on out, it's Creek Gardens Crafts, just so you know, for the yarn stuff. Again, apologies for the crinkling. This one was the True Colors shawl kit that she created by Melanie Berg. And this one is a very detailed rainbow. Had to have that. Like, come on, look at those colors. I apologize for the light. But those are absolutely stunning, and I had to have them. I was just thinking, like, imagine this shirt with like a rainbow effect with the stripes. How fun is that? I might still do the True Color shawl by Melanie Berg, which is what it's intended for, but it also comes with a mist. Full skein. And because I am obsessed with fall, we just talked about how sort of my colors scheme is fall type colors. And this one was the one, I actually ordered this one first, and then I decided I had to have the other rainbow one as well. But this one is the fall color rainbow type. Like, oh my gosh, how delicious is that? And I wish you could feel the loveliness that is this cotton. Oh, so lovely. And then this one also comes with a mist. So if I don't have any intention of making the shawl, maybe I have enough mist to make another sweater. Okay. These are unrelated, like they're not related to knitting acquisitions, but they sort of are. So I mentioned earlier that I love tea, and I generally only drink orange pekoe Tetley with milk and sugar and in a particular cup. Like, I'm really particular. Like, we go out to a restaurant and want to have a cup of tea, like, I just won't. I'd rather just wait until I get home and have it. But lately, I've been wanting a cup of tea sort of at nighttime to wind down before I go to bed. Excuse me. And I can't have caffeinated teas, and I'm not a fan of decaf orange pekoe. Like, anyway, it's just not my jam. So I've tried it, and it's just not for me. So I decided I would try a couple of fruit teas. Again, I'll thank Taylor Earl from the Wool Needles Hands podcast, because she always says, grab a cup of something cozy. I wanted something cozy, but I had to sort of break out of my shell of orange pekoe. So I tested a couple of teas, and I've been trying teas for years and just not liking them. I finally found 2 teas that I really enjoy and one that I'm willing to try. So we'll see. They are from David's Tea, which I believe, pretty sure, 99% sure is a Canadian company. David's Tea has locations in Calgary, but they also have a web space where you can purchase things online and have it shipped to you. That's what I did because they had a sale, and I just happened to be online when I saw this sale. So I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a go. So the first thing I got was one of the teas that I really enjoy. It's called Frozen Raspberry. It's a fruit infusion tea, and I bought some loose leaf tea. So because it's caffeine free, you can have it hot or cold. Again, there's like a perfect temperature for me. I don't like it too hot. But I haven't yet been able to let it get cold enough. Because again, I just kind of I don't want it for the tea purpose or for the like drink purpose. I want it for the warmth and the coziness at nighttime before I go to bed to sort of tone down the brain. So this one is the first one, Frozen Raspberry, which I drink hot. But it can be hot or cold. The second is this one, which is the one that sort of introduced me to the fruit teas at David's Tea. This one is, and I'm sure everybody and their dog knows this one if you drink David's Tea, is Just Peachy. It is so peachy and so delicious. Again, there's a perfect temperature. Too hot for me is you can't even taste the peach, but like before it gets lukewarm, it's still hot enough that it's hot, but you know what I'm saying? Same thing, I believe you can actually drink this one hot or cold. Yes, pretty sure you can drink this one hot or cold. It is also caffeine free and just yummy, just delicious. And because it's caffeine free, I can drink it at nighttime. And the third one that I figured if I like those two, I probably will like this one. So I thought I would give it a shot, is the Strawberry Lemonade. Again, a fruit tea that can be had hot or cold, I believe. And haven't yet tried this one, so I'll let you know what I think. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be delicious if the other two are as good as I think they are. So yeah, 3 David's Teas to give me something to have at nighttime that doesn't have caffeine in it. So as you saw earlier, these mugs or cups are my favorite. And I have a couple of the little like tea infuser balls. Quite honestly, I find that to be a fair amount of work to get a cup of tea, so I just wasn't into it. I've done it, obviously. The Just Peachy ones that I bought before I bought that bag, they were on sale and they were in a tea bag, so that was fine. But the Frozen Raspberry, I have to like scoop it into the thing. You know, if you do tea, you probably know this already. I found that just to be a bit cumbersome, so I decided, because it was also on sale, and when I show you, you'll understand, I bought this. It's a knit mug, so it actually has a knit print on the outside. So, and if you haven't figured this out already, or if I haven't said it already, I'm pretty sure I've told you I love green. Green is my favorite color. So this is the lid. This is the little pattern that's on it. I just think it's so cute. And there you go. So you put your little, the little metal thing. I have one of those that I ordered as well, which I figured you didn't want to see. And then you put your lid on it and you make yourself a little tea. So I'm super pumped about that. And it keeps your tea warm. So excited. Anyway, so that's that. I'm just going to put that over there. And then put the box down here. So those were... Oh, sorry. I wanted to show you this. I apologize. Back a second ago when I talked about Arctic Crafts. This is her business card. Again, she has closed her Etsy shop, so you will not be able to find her on Etsy any longer. But on Instagram, she's Arctic Crafts by Benta on Facebook, Arctic Crafts 65 on Ravelry, and Arctic Crafts bybenta@gmail.com. But yeah, the Etsy shop has been closed, so you won't be able to find her there. So that's if you're looking to connect with her or maybe watch her podcast. The final acquisition, again, not something that is knitting related particularly, but it's something that brings me a lot of joy. Being from Newfoundland, a lot of music has made its way into my soul. There's just things about music in Newfoundland that it can lift you up, it can bring you home, it just feels good. One particular artist is my absolute favorite. I've mentioned him before on my social media and whatnot. There's just something about his voice that brings me up. And I haven't shared this yet, but I might as well share it now. In September of 2022, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And then in February of 2023, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. That's a big, long story. I'll save that for another time. But the night that I drove to the emergency room for the night that I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, I was listening to this gentleman. His name is Cory Tetford. I was listening to his CD in the morning. That's the name of the CD. It wasn't in the morning. It was actually in the evening. But I was listening to his CD in the morning on my way to the hospital. So there's a few songs on there that really hit home for me, and they bring me right back to that time. And like I said, his voice is just angelic. I just love him to pieces. He's also just a really gentle and nice human. But I had his first CD, and it's named Grace. I'm pretty sure it's his first CD. He had put it out maybe early 2000s, and I'd had a copy, and I lent it out to a friend of mine who somewhere in the jigs and reels, she lost it, or she gave it back to me and I lost it, something. Anyway, I found it online at Discogs, so I ordered it. And so I have his old CD, Grace, back in my collection. So again, not knitting related, but the music that brings me joy. And when I listen to it, it brings me back to my 20s, which feels like it was yesterday, but it was not. Absolutely, absolutely love this CD. So I'm so glad it's back in my possession. Okay. So that's it for I went twacking. But I missed a whip. And I missed it because it's not in a project bag. And it doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a bunch of squares, which is exactly what it is. So this is, oh shoot, I think it's called the boho vest. Again, I'll link it below, and I'll put a little thing right here that has the name of the designer and the name of the pattern there. Pretty sure it's the boho vest, something like that. Anyway, so I'll just show one square because they all are identical. So I made, I believe it's 7 of these squares, and I have been avoiding putting them together because I think that takes too much brain power, quite honestly, for me right now, and I need easy things. So these are, like I say, there's 7 of them, and they kind of, you sew them all together, and then it makes a vest with like fringe and super cute. It is the Stampede. Calgary Stampede is going on right now, so it would be perfect for that. But actually, I might have to finish it because we're having a little girls' night and we're going out on Saturday for the Stampede. Might have to finish that. We'll see. Anyway, so that is... I think I just got a thing. I don't know if I'm still recording. That is the vest. Again, I'll put it here and link it below. The final segment is going to be what I'm watching and what I'm reading. I'll be honest, what I'm watching right now is only podcasts pretty much. So Needles at the Ready, Wool Needles Hands, Arctic Crafts has her own podcast. So like I said, I showed her below. Stitches Be Slippin', Melissa, who also works at Polka Dot Creek. She's hilarious. The Polka Dot Creek podcast. What's that one called again? Easily Distracted by Yarn. Stranded, love Stranded. Jude is lovely, and the Knit Girls is pretty typical for me. Oh, and the Knitty Stew. Gotta love the Knitty Stew. Leanne is lovely. What I'm reading, I have a book. I usually have a book in hand and a book on from my library, an audiobook. So right now I'm listening to Alice Feeney, I Know Who You Are. I love Alice Feeney, and this narrator who I cannot remember the name of right now, but oh man, she's lovely. I've listened to a couple of Alice Feeney's and she's really good. And the book that I'm reading is Louise Penny. Can't remember the name of it. I'll link it below. It is one in the Inspector Gamache series. Love Louise Penny. I'm not going to get into too much detail because I feel like my phone probably isn't going to keep recording. I think that's it. I think that's it for today. That's a good one. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of my subscribers if you happen to be one. If you're not, feel free to click the link, click like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you can be notified of any further content that I upload. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Like I said, my plan is to do this once every couple of weeks. I quite honestly don't know how this is going to go, but we will see. That's all. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.